If you've tried cutting out trigger foods, adding in supplements, and doing everything the internet tells you to do for reflux and heartburn, and you're still not getting lasting relief, this episode is going to explain exactly why. Because the problem is not that you haven't tried hard enough, it's that the tools most people rely on were never designed to fix the actual problem. Today, I'm breaking down why diet changes and supplements keep so many people stuck in a cycle, what is actually driving your symptoms underneath the surface, and why functional lab testing is the piece that finally makes everything click. So, let's get into it. Welcome to The Stomach Solution, the podcast for all you high achievers out there who are tired of managing your reflux, heartburn, and stomach pain and are ready for a solution that lasts. I'm Jessica Washington, functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner and former reflux sufferer myself, so I know firsthand what it feels like to do everything right and still feel like your stomach is working against you. So, if you're ready to dig into your symptoms, hidden root causes, the ones that diet changes and supplements just won't touch, get comfy, take a deep breath, and let's uncover the solution to your stomach issues together. And as a reminder, this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not a replacement for medical advice or treatment. Well, hello, welcome to the podcast. And if you haven't noticed, we have a new podcast name, The Stomach Solution, and all the artwork is the cutest thing I've ever seen. I'm just obsessed with it all. The name was a long time coming. I don't know. I've just been feeling the need to create a more specific name for what we talk about here. And I don't know. I just kind of took the plunge and redid everything. The artwork is just fun, and I feel like I wanted the podcast and just my whole brand here online to just be fun and I don't know, give you some laugh, some joy, just because the things that we're dealing with are not the most enjoyable. And so if we can have a cute little stomach listening to a podcast with his little hot beverage, then let's do it. So I hope you like it. I hope you like the name, and I am just excited for this new phase of the podcast. It's been not quite a year and a half of the show, and so I feel like this happens to a lot of people where it's like we start out with one thing that we think is going to kind of carry us through, and then we get actually into making the shows and writing the episodes and really digging into like what you guys need and how I can best support you. And I just felt like renaming the podcast as The Stomach Solution was just kind of appropriate. So here we are. But I hope you're doing well. Happy April 20th. We're moving through April already. That means the school year is coming to an end over here, getting ready for summer, some sleeping in time, some slower days. So I'm excited. And if you are listening to this episode in real time, so during the week that it comes out, April 20th, 21st, 22nd, those things, I am hosting a free live training on April 23rd, which is Thursday. And I'm really excited about it. I haven't ever done a training like this before, and I think it's going to be really helpful. Really, all we're going to do is walk through some case studies of previous clients that I've worked with and just unpack why using strategies like diet restriction and just kind of blind supplementation do not work to resolve your reflux and heartburn. And so we're going to see kind of like what these clients have been doing before they started working with me, and then how things changed once we were able to dig into their functional labs, their health history, kind of look at their entire case from a real like health detective lens. And so I'm really excited to share some of these all-star clients. This has been something I've been trying to speak on for a while now, and I'm very passionate about the fact that you have to dig deeper under the surface level symptoms that you're experiencing if you ever want to feel normal again without having to constantly be micromanaging your stomach. And so that training is on Thursday, and that will really dive deep into all of those things with those case studies, and I'm really excited about. So I will put a link to register for that in the show notes, or you can go to theguthealingninja.com/April and sign up there. And then today's episode is going to be a little prelude to that longer, more intensive case study focused training. And so today we're going to dig into just a little bit why those diet changes and surface level supplementation aren't working to resolve your symptoms. So first, before we get into it, I want to say that if you have been doing these things, like you've tried all the different diets, you've done low FODMAP, you've gone gluten-free, you've cut out dairy, you've tried the low acid thing, and if you've, done a lot of research and found a lot of these supplements that people online are saying worked really well for them. So if you're doing all of that and you're still not getting lasting relief, that is not a personal failure on you. That is not your body being broken or being too difficult. It does not mean that you can never get better. That is just the result of what happens when you are using the wrong tools. You've been given just an incomplete kind of playbook to deal with what you're experiencing. And here's kind of what I mean by that. So, most of the strategies that people use to manage their reflux and their heartburn, things like elimination diets, the supplements, antacids, and even a lot of the protocols you find online, maybe you've used from another practitioner, they all really have one big thing in common, and that is that they are working on the surface level. So they are just addressing what you can see, which is the symptom itself, whether that's trying to calm your reflux or your heartburn or your bloating or your kind of after meal fullness. Those are all the symptoms that we definitely want to calm down. Those symptoms are real and they are uncomfortable and they are disrupting your life. And so I'm absolutely not saying to just ignore those surface level symptoms, but here's the thing. Those symptoms are not actually the problem. Reflux is not the problem. That is the signal, the sign. They are your body's way of communicating that something deeper in your body is out of balance. And when all you do is quiet that surface level signal with maybe a restrictive diet or a supplement, you're not fixing what your body is actually trying to tell you. And that underlying dysfunction will still be there. It will be simmering. It will be disrupting other things and kind of spreading. And that's exactly why your symptoms continue to come back despite all of your best efforts and really despite doing all of the right things with your diet and with your supplements. It's because you're just touching that surface. And so I like to call this the symptom relief trap, and it's super common. So please don't think that you're alone if you're resonating with this. And it often shows up like this, where you experience a symptom, maybe reflux, burning, bloating, stomach pain, whatever that looks like for you, and you start searching for solutions because that's natural, right? We don't want to feel sick and not able to do things. And so maybe in your search for a solution, you find that cutting out a certain food helps. So you cut out that food or that food group, or maybe you find a supplement on the internet, on a forum, on a Facebook group that helps to calm your symptoms down. And so you add that in. And for a little while, those strategies work. You start feeling better. You're not having those symptoms as often or as severely. But then something happens. Life just lifes. And you have a stressful week. You eat out, either like with work or with friends or with family, or you're experiencing a season of life where things are a little bit more unpredictable. You're kind of out of your normal, safe routine, and your symptoms come roaring right back in. And so you restrict more, you add in more supplements, you try another protocol, and that cycle just continues. And so the simplest way to know if you are in this symptom relief trap and if something that you are doing to calm your symptoms is just acting as that surface level band-aid versus actually healing what's going on under the surface, is to stop doing the thing and see what happens. And so if you reintroduce the foods that you were avoiding and your symptoms immediately come back, then your diet was just managing the symptom, not resolving the reason that that symptom exists in the first place. Or if you stop taking that supplement that was making you feel better for a little bit and all of a sudden your symptoms come back. Unfortunately, that supplement was just covering up that whatever underlying dysfunction is going on, not actually fixing it. And please Stay on the diets, stay on the supplements that are helping you feel better, but don't stop there because the goal is not to need more and more crutches, band-aids, more tools to just get through the day. The goal is to need fewer and fewer tools over time because your body is actually getting stronger and more resilient and healing that internal dysfunction that is contributing to your symptoms. So, if you're finding that diet changes and supplements are just addressing your symptoms, the next logical question to ask is what is actually driving those symptoms in the first place? And so this is where things like functional lab tests become the most important tools that we have because there are so many potential underlying root causes of reflux and heartburn and stomach pain and bloating, and most of them are completely invisible from symptoms alone. I can work with two clients who both have reflux and bloating as their main symptoms, and they can have completely different root causes driving those same symptoms. And that's the prime example of how we can't just guess our way through actually healing your body and resolving your symptoms. Because if you're just guessing, you're going to be treating those two clients exactly the same, when in reality, the root causes are completely different and they will each require completely different game plans in order to completely resolve their symptoms and heal their bodies. And some of the most common hidden root causes that I find for these stomach upper GI symptoms include things like gut infections, especially H. pylori, you know that. Other less common things are just really general microbiome imbalances. So maybe your beneficial bacteria are in the tank, or you have some like inflammatory immune dysregulating bacteria elevated. Low stomach acid is also a big one. Poor digestive enzyme output, which actually can heavily contribute to reflux because your food is not being broken down properly. Things like nutrient deficiencies, particularly minerals like zinc and sodium that are critical for stomach acid production. And so if you don't have those minerals, you're going to have low stomach acid, you're going to have poor digestive enzyme output, and it's just a giant cascade of issues that you're never going to resolve if you're just addressing the reflux. Also, nervous system dysregulation is a big one just because if your body is stuck in fight or flight, your body is not prioritizing sending resources and blood flow and energy towards digesting, it's prioritizing just keeping you alive and out of danger. And then bigger picture, kind of systemic issues like thyroid dysfunction or blood sugar instability can really slow your gut motility and just, again, create a cascade of dysfunction that lead to ultimately your digestive symptoms. And so if all you're looking at is, hey, I have reflux and I have bloating and I feel really full after meals, you will never be able to zoom out and see that, like, okay, all of that is being driven by a subclinical sluggish thyroid, which is a huge cause of just that digestive dysfunction cascade that can ultimately present as reflux. And none of these kind of hidden under the surface root causes will show up on standard GI tests from your doctor, which is why so many people, unfortunately, when they go to their doctor with these symptoms and these issues, just get a shrug and a prescription for a PPI, and nothing actually changes. And this is exactly why functional lab testing is such a game changer. When I start working with a client, I do not rely on symptoms alone to guide what we do. Symptoms definitely matter, and they're part of the whole picture that helps me figure out what path we're going to take forward. But they are definitely not specific enough to tell us what's actually happening inside your body. Again, two people can have identical symptoms and need completely different approaches, and we don't know that until we run the labs and see what's going on internally. And that functional lab testing gives us a clear picture of what's going on beneath the surface under your symptoms. And it lets us stop guessing and start knowing what's actually going on so that we can fix that. And then your symptoms will just resolve themselves. So, real quickly, I just want to touch on the labs that I use with clients. I've talked about this a lot, just so that if you're new here, you kind of know what I'm working with and you know what is going to get us the complete map of what's causing your symptoms so that we can have a really targeted, actionable plan moving forward. So we use the GI map, which is my bread and butter. That's the comprehensive PCR technology stool test that looks at the big pathogens like H. pylori. It looks at your microbiome for bacterial imbalances, can look at parasites, digestive enzyme output, gut immune markers, and things like intestinal permeability. And this is a very good first place to start so that we can find those gut-driven answers that a lot of clients have been searching for and that a lot of clients have been tested for from their GI doctor but have come back negative. But this GI map test uses a different, definitely more accurate technology and can often find these things that give us answers where you've hit a dead end with your doctor. I also use a test called the OAT, which is the organic acids test, and this gives us information on metabolic function, cellular energy production, and where I find it most helpful is to look for markers of mold, hidden candida, and nutrient deficiencies. And this one really has been a game changer for so many of my clients because we're able to identify a lot of these hidden gut infections and really systemic infections. You can have mold and candida systemically, and oftentimes those things won't show up on the GI map or other testing. And so if you've done a GI map in the past, you've addressed everything on there, the OAT could give you some new and really critical insights, especially into things like Clostridia, Candida, Aspergillus. All of those have really helped me find answers for clients whose GI maps, either they've already addressed everything on there or their GI maps are mostly unremarkable. So, OAT is a great one. We also use HTMA, which is hair tissue mineral analysis, and this really maps out mineral status in your soft tissue, which is that usable form of minerals, and that gives us a lot of insight into how your body is responding long term to stress. Minerals essentially run every function in the body, including stomach acid production, gut motility, and your body's stress response. And so, if you are deficient in certain minerals, if minerals are out of balance compared to one another, that can give us insight into a lot of healing opportunities that could be very strongly contributing to your symptoms. So, HTMA is a winner. And then this is not necessarily a functional lab test, but I also very heavily lean on comprehensive blood labs to fill in the rest of this clinical picture. And so here we look at things like thyroid function, blood sugar regulation, vitamin D status, iron status, liver and gallbladder function, and a bunch of other key markers that directly impact gut function and can very heavily play a role in how your gut is functioning and therefore how you are experiencing gut symptoms. And what makes my interpretation of lab work different than maybe your doctor's is that when I look at blood labs, my reference ranges are much tighter and more representative of optimal function than what your doctor, who is just looking to make sure you aren't in a disease state, would be looking at. And so if you've gone to your doctor, you've run a bunch of labs and everything is quote unquote normal, if you work with a practitioner who can look at things through a functional lens, we can catch a lot of imbalances that are making you feel not optimal and impacting your gut function before they become a real medical issue, because that's my job as an FDN, is to just help you not avoid a disease state, but help you feel optimal and help your body work most optimally so that it can essentially heal itself. So together, these four labs give us a really clear, individualized picture of what is actually driving your symptoms. And that is really where everything changes because we're no longer guessing. We're no longer just addressing your symptoms. We're not trying another generic protocol. Your protocol looks completely different from the client next to you. And because we are addressing what your body actually needs, and we are being guided by lab data, not just vibes and feels. Is that a thing? So, when you are working from this place of real information and lab-driven data, healing just looks completely different. Because instead of constantly reacting to symptoms and just chasing relief, feeling like you're always scrambling and kind of always playing defense against your stomach, you can start seeing steady improvement. Your tolerance for food expands, your digestion becomes more resilient because you're supporting those deeper pieces that build on each other and create that digestive health and resilience in the first place. You're not forcing your stomach to feel better. You're giving your stomach what it needs in order to function normally. And when you do all of that, your symptoms become less frequent and less intense. And eventually you get to a place where your stomach is not running the show anymore, because that's what we want. And so that picture is not a picture of symptom management. That is your body actually healing, because the things that were standing in the way of your body's ability to heal have finally been identified and removed. And here's the big thing that I always want my clients and prospective clients to understand is that healing is not something we can force. We can't just like make your body work better. That's not going to work. And it's my job as an FDN to just take a step back and to identify and remove the things that are standing in your body's way of healing itself. And so when we're able to identify and remove those hidden stressors and dysfunctions that have been blocking your body's ability to repair itself, your body does what it was designed to do, which is heal and work well all on its own. And that's the whole point. Not more restriction, not more like forcing your body to fit in this little box of like quote unquote health, but it's just your body working the way that it was designed to and the way that it wants to, because you have really gotten out of its way and been able to identify the things that are keeping your body stuck in this dysfunction. And once you've removed those, your body is now strong enough to feel well all on its own, and you don't have to live a perfect life, eat a perfect diet, and take the perfect supplements to make that happen. So if you are listening to this and thinking, I feel like I'm stuck in that cycle, you're not alone. That's why we're talking about it on the podcast. That's why I'm hosting a whole training about it this week. This is a big issue, especially with people who have been working at resolving your stomach symptoms for a long time. It's like you're doing all the right things. It's just not working because you need to dig a little bit deeper. And so if you're ready to stop all of the guesswork, all of the reacting, and find out what is actually going on deeper inside your body, I would love to see you at the free live training on April 23rd, Thursday. And it is officially called Why Diet Changes and Supplements Aren't Enough, How to Dig Deeper and Finally Resolve Your Reflux and Heartburn for Good. And again, in this training, I'm just going to walk you through the processes that I use with clients. We're going to go through some case studies. We're going to see how this all works, how all of the puzzle pieces fit together so that you can see these labs, my thought process in action, and how all of that together makes the biggest difference for my clients and enables them to feel better all on their own. And so the link to register is in the show notes. You can go to theguthealingninja.com/April. I would love to see you there. I think it's going to be a small, intimate group. We'll have lots of time for Q&A, for your own case studies at the end. So bring your questions. Happy to just have an open forum to chat through things, kind of long form with you, and really help you see how these labs are such a game changer and can really get you out of this cycle that you're in, because you don't have to stay like this forever. It's, you're managing, you're doing everything you can right now, but there's so much more out there for you. If you just dig a little bit deeper and figure out what's actually causing your symptoms, you can get out of this cycle and you can just start feeling better and feeling normal and stop thinking about your stomach all the time. So that's all I have today. Thanks for being here on the Stomach Solution podcast. I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for tuning into the Stomach Solution. If you got something valuable out of today's episode, please subscribe to the show and leave a rating and review wherever you're listening. It takes about 30 seconds and makes a huge difference in helping this show reach the people who need it the most. And if you're ready to dig even deeper into what's going on with your gut, come find me on Instagram at The Gut Healing Ninja, or head to theguthealingninja.com to get more resources and strategies to help you heal. And remember, there is a solution to your stomach issues, and we will find it together.